Thank you, my friend, and what a pleasure to be with all of you, and a special thanks to Dr. Singh and the American Sikh Caucus Committee, and to my colleagues, Mary Gay Scanlon from Pennsylvania and David Valadeo from California, our co-chairs, for bringing so many of us together today. As we mark 40 years since the atrocious assault on the Golden Temple, we are making clear that Congress's support of this community remains unwavering and bipartisan. The American experiment is built on a premise of religious freedom, and some of our darkest chapters were written when we strayed from that foundation, and some of our greatest triumphs were forged when we marched closer to fully realizing it. But that project is still incomplete. The forces of religious oppression are as brazen as ever. The enemies of religious freedom are no longer constrained by national borders. The campaign to silence and terrorize this community is not a regional problem. These assaults on political opposition are not contained to any one country. This is a global threat. And as we have so painfully learned, that threat exists here on American soil. So it will take courage to stand up to that kind of repression. It takes unimaginable resilience to carry on the fight that you have all fought for so many years. So I want to thank you, and on behalf of the Democratic Caucus, thank you for speaking out. Thank you for mobilizing and organizing. History is with you. We are with you. I am proud to be your partner in building a kinder and repression-free future, where this sort of bigoted violence is a distant relic of the past. And I want to thank you for your partnership, for all you do, for not only your own communities, but for all of our communities, and really the model that you present about how to be inclusive and leading with love and seeing the divinity within each other. Thank you for having me here today.
Thank you.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I am honored to be here with you today, and thank you for allowing me to speak out of order. It's one of those days here, and we have a classified briefing that's going on right now that deals with, sadly, the hostage situations that we find ourselves in throughout the world, and particularly in the Middle East. I am so honored, though, that we would have this very important and diverse group of religious leaders here. You know, it is a reflection, I think, of who we are. There are some beautiful words that I am fond of repeating in America's founding over almost 250 years ago. One of those phrases is, "We the people." It's we the people. It's all of us. And one of my other favorite refrains is, "In order to form a more perfect union." Now that's aspirational. In order to form a more perfect union. I don't think any of us, whatever our religious beliefs are, think that we may be able in our lifetime to obtain perfection. We trust in God and our spiritual beliefs to try to determine how we might develop a more perfect union, but it is wonderful aspirations for our religious views to understand that we are imperfect as human beings with all the imperfections that we know historically that have taken place in this world we live in. So we live in a country that was founded in large part from people that were trying to escape religious persecution. I mean, think about that. And yet we still see religious persecution today. And that's why your gathering here is so important, because your diversity makes my heart swell, because you reflect the desire to protect religious beliefs. In this world we live in, and you can pick any part of the world we might discuss today, we see various populations throughout the world representing every major and minor religious belief reflected. That's the good news. The bad news is that sadly, in recent years, we continue to witness and experience religious persecution throughout the world. And as a result, violations of human rights, because we believe that freedom to religion is a human right, to believe as we think our Creator endowed us to believe. And many of your faiths reflected and represented here today have experienced the human rights violations, and whether you're Sikh or whether you're non-Muslim or Muslim or of other religious groups. In my own district, some of you know, in the heart of the San Joaquin Valley, very, very diverse communities. We've had attacks in Guinduardos and attacks upon Sikh representatives for no other reason than what you're demonstrating here this afternoon, your religious faith and your belief by your culture and your dress. In other words, the way that you comfortably express your faith is a matter of the history of your own religious beliefs. But because extreme factions in our own country, we see people lashing out and attacking individuals for no other reason because they see your dress to represent something that that causes a reaction. I can't explain or try to, those kinds of extremism simply should never be tolerated in a free and open society that we have in this country. Religious freedom, I think, is critical to the health of a diverse society, and it certainly is one of the elements in our country that is based upon an important element of democracy. It's written in our Constitution, freedom of religion. And so our founding fathers, like the founding fathers of other populous nations in South Asian states that include many where some of you have your origin or your families from. I'm talking about Pakistan, India, Bangladesh, where supposedly religious freedom is a tenet of those countries. But yet we see politics intervening in parts of Asia and other parts of the world. And it raises concerns for me about how we protect religious freedoms, not only in our country, but in other parts of the world. So I think the strength of our democracy and other democracies around the world is to reiterate the basic human rights and freedoms that we believe. Another refrain that I don't know, I heard Ken Burns, the noted American storyteller and historian, say, there's been a lot of discussion over 200 years as to what Thomas Jefferson meant when he wrote, "In pursuit of happiness." In pursuit of happiness. Yeah. What did he mean? We all think, in terms of our religious beliefs, of what we think in pursuit of happiness means. A community that bonds itself, that bridges itself together. So we have to push back on the politics of hate. Dr. Martin Luther King, thank you. We have to push back. Dr. Martin Luther King said, the only way that you can remove darkness is through light. Very poetic. The only way you remove darkness is through light. As a member of the Congressional American Sikh Caucus, I just want all of you and others of the religious groups that are represented here today to know that and I think those of us who feel this way, stand up for your freedom of pursuit of happiness, your freedom of religion, of your choice to escape persecution, because it is a human right. And this dialogue that you are having this afternoon and coordinating this dialogue and where you take it from here is so important, because we are, I think, partners in this effort. This dialogue and your efforts to remind us to do what is right is so important. So I think it's a critical time, because in history, world history, we've always had the politics of fear and the politics of hope in societies throughout the world. And we know that the politics of fear can be successful. We see it today in our country and around the world. I aspire to the politics of hope, and I believe all of you do as well. And that's why we have to let people know that they need not fear the pursuit of happiness and religious freedom. They need not fear because people worship in different ways than what they may be familiar with. That we need to protect those rights of religious freedom. So the United States and the United Nations must continue to advocate in addressing where we see human rights violations taking place, where we see human rights and the violation of those rights taking place. And we can't allow for religious persecution to flourish or carry on in any part of the world. It's the opposite of darkness. It's the shedding of light. So let me close by just saying thank you. Thank you for this dialogue. Thank you for doing what you do, because the world deserves, I think, the freedom to practice in whatever religious customs and beliefs you may hold. Let me say that again. The world deserves for everyone to be able to pursue their religious beliefs in the manner they choose. And that's why you're here. So let me just say, let's continue to work together to root out hate and extremism, and let every person know that it's we the people, and we continue every day to do our best in order to form a more perfect union. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Congressman. I think...
One other
Sure, please.
quick favor I will ask, because I feel the faith here. Pray for us. We need the help,
Indeed.
not only for our country, but for the world we live in.
Sure.
It's very much needed.
That's what we're doing today. Thank you, sir. Well, I think those of you who haven't heard Congressman Costa before must compliment that I told you his words are always full of wisdom, and he impresses everyone. Yeah. Thank you, sir.
Of Saka Nakoder, recognizing the Indian Army coming in and annihilating 4 young men for protecting and standing up for their right to freedoms and speech and freedom of religion. 1984 Sikh genocide resolution was one of the very first resolutions I passed. This is something that impacts all young Sikh youth that have grown up after the events of 1984. We have grown up with the memories. There is not one Sikh member that does not know what happened at that time. The targeted killing of specifically the Sikh community in just 3 days, when they turned off the media presence, they turned off any access, and anybody was allowed to, quote, kill as many Sikh people as you would like, end quote, was being reported on radios, TV stations. This was a targeted attempt by the Indian government to destroy my identity. I am a proud Sikh American. I am proud to stand in solidarity with my community. Today and this year marks the 40th anniversary. It has been 40 years, but we have not forgotten. We have not stopped hearing the voices of the women and men who died during the events of 1984. We will continue to make sure that we raise this awareness and seek justice for the victims of 1984. The events of 1984 were, in fact, a genocide. This was not a program. This was not a riot. This was, in fact, a genocide. And I urge Congress to also stand in solidarity with California, who has declared the events unanimously in both houses, Assembly and Senate, has declared that the events of 1984 were, in fact, a Sikh genocide targeted attempt by the Indian government to destroy the Sikh community. And I urge Congress to also pass a resolution recognizing that 1984 was, in fact, an attempted genocide of the Sikh community. I will leave this here. I am very proud of being Sikh. I am proud of my identity. I am proud of my community. I stand in solidarity. Thank you to everyone that has gathered today in solidarity of peace and progression of protection of human rights. Thank you so much, and I am so honored, and I apologize I could not be there with you all today on this amazing day. Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Congressmember Judy Chu. I come from Southern California, Los Angeles area, and I'm honored to be here with the American Sikh Caucus Committee for the Interfaith Prayer Service for Global Peace. When I first came to Congress, I quickly realized that many of my colleagues did not understand the Sikh community or the challenges that Sikh Americans faced. Even years after 9/11, many Sikhs across America were facing bullying and even racially motivated violence. That is why in 2013, I decided to establish the bipartisan American Sikh Congressional Caucus along with my Republican colleague, Representative David Valadao. We founded this caucus to give Sikh Americans a voice in Congress to ensure that our nation could understand the beauty of the Sikh religion and to celebrate the great accomplishments of Sikh Americans, including Congressman Dalip Singh Sound, who was the first Asian, Indian, and Sikh American to ever serve in Congress. And yes, you are right, there was resistance from some to forming this caucus. But we did prevail, and the fact that you are all here today continuing to raise your voices shows how important it was to make sure that this caucus remains intact and active. So it tells, what we see is that people are learning more about the great Sikh traditions, and in fact, now there's an annual langar, and there is a pride for us to see that there are Sikh American events taking place right here in the U.S. Capitol more than 10 years after this caucus was founded. And it's especially important because the challenges facing the Sikh community persist. In fact, FBI data released last October found that religiously motivated hate crimes were at their highest since 2001, with an increase of 17% since 2021. And Sikhs remain the second most targeted group in the nation for religiously motivated hate crime incidents. I was horrified learning the story of Jasmer Singh, the New York Sikh man who was driving his wife home from the doctor last year, but got into a fender bender. The other driver punched him so hard, he fell to the ground, sustaining a brain injury that subsequently killed him. Mr. Singh and all Sikhs in America deserve so much more than that. They deserve to live in safety, to care for their families, to contribute to their communities without being targeted for who they are. That is why it was so important for me to pass the COVID-19 Hate Crimes Act, which includes my bill with Representative Don Beyer, the No Hate Act, to provide local law enforcement with the resources and training necessary to improve hate crimes tracking and reporting and prosecuting, including for Sikh Americans. And I'm continuing to work with the Department of Justice to ensure that the administration has the resources it needs to implement this critical law so that we can track and prevent these incidents of hate against Sikh Americans and all AAPI communities. We must also stand up against transnational repression and the alleged killing and targeting of Sikhs by individuals coordinating directly with the Indian government. It is unconscionable that a foreign government would order assassinations of Sikhs, and the U.S. must make clear that we will not tolerate this horrific political violence. These actions are meant to silence and intimidate Sikhs here in the United States, in Canada, and around the world. And I will work with my Sikh caucus colleagues here in Congress to prevent political violence and transnational repression and to seek justice for its victims. So thank you again for hosting this very, very important interfaith prayer service and for honoring the victims of violence. I am proud to stand with you, and I look forward to continuing our work together.
ਸਤਿ ਸ਼੍ਰੀ ਅਕਾਲ ਵੈਲਕਮ ਅੱਜ ਅਸੀਂ ਹਾਊਸ ਆਫ ਰਿਪਰੈਜ਼ੈਂਟੇਟਿਵ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਆ ਆਪਣੇ ਨਾਲ ਫ੍ਰੈਜ਼ਨੋ ਡਿਸਟ੍ਰਿਕਟ ਤੋਂ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਕਾਂਗਰਸਮੈਨ ਜਿਮ ਕੋਸਟਾ ਨਾਲ ਆ ਹੈਲੋ ਜਿਮ ਕੋਸਟਾ ਹਾਊ ਆਰ ਯੂ
Hello, thank
ਸਤਿ ਸ਼੍ਰੀ ਅਕਾਲ so you're here today for the interfaith conference at 40 years of attack on Darbar Sahib. You spoke very well inside. How do you feel? What do you want to say to your constituents or to the Sikhs across USA?
Well, this interfaith gathering is so important. The Sikh community that I have the honor and privilege to represent in the San Joaquin Valley is so important. The Sikh community, like other religious faiths, have had to escape persecution, religious persecution, in order to practice their faith. And that's why we need to remember how important it is for us to ensure the freedom of religion for one to practice their faith and their culture. And I tried to explain how our country, but other countries, try to ensure that religious freedom is always maintained, the human values, the human rights. It is written in our Constitution that thou shalt have religious freedom. But we see the politics of hate and darkness, and it afflicts itself on the Sikh community and other religions that are being persecuted, sadly, even in our country today.
You mentioned inside like freedom of religion is a human right. Can you expand on it a little bit more?
Well, I think that it is so fundamental to the human spirit that we have basic human rights that we share in common. And one of those is the freedom to practice your faith as you believe is your conscience with your God. And so in our country, we have many people that have come here from all over the world to escape religious persecution. And yet we still see those politics of fear and hate manifesting itself against certain religious beliefs. And we see that with, sadly, violence taking place for people just practicing their faith.
So Congressman Jim Costa, transnational repression has been a big issue now, as we have seen Indian agents try to assassinate a Sikh leader over here. They assassinated one in Canada as well. So what do you want to say to the people, to the Sikhs who are practicing their religion, who are practicing their right of expression, their speech? What do you want to say, and what do you want to say to the India?
I've raised that issue with the Indian government. I've raised that issue with our United States State Department and in conjunction with Canada, because clearly, if there is an organized effort by another country to create this assassination attempt, or in the case in Canada where a leader was killed, we must get to the bottom of this. And let me also say that my reflection is not just in terms of my own beliefs. I've been to the state of Punjab. I've been to the Golden Temple. I saw what happened 40 years ago when the violence took place
when the Indian Army attacked it.
Among the most sacred of Sikh worship. And so we must keep that in mind, because sadly in India, the largest democracy in the world, and in the United States, the oldest democracy in the world, where we maintain the faith of religious freedom, we still see people that are trying to violate that freedom of religion. And that's why this interfaith dialogue is important. It's why we must continue to speak out and be together, because sadly sometimes the politics of hate and darkness takes place in different ways that all of us believe is wrong.
So you must have read an investigative report by Washington Post on the killings and on the hit job they took over there. What do you want to comment on it?
Well, I think that it saddened me to see that the people that were involved in this, and it's why we've sought for accountability by the Indian government, and I think we must continue to. The largest democracy in the world, India, has a very diverse population, and they purport to maintain religious freedoms. And so it is important that they understand that the world's watching.
Thank you, Congressman. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
ਸਤਿ ਸ਼੍ਰੀ ਅਕਾਲ, ਮੈਂ ਰਾਜਕਨਵੀਰ ਸਿੰਘ, ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਰੇਡੀਓ ਯੂਐਸਏ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਇਸ ਟਾਈਮ ਕਾਂਗਰਸ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਆ, ਯੂਐਸ ਰਿਪਰੈਜ਼ੈਂਟੇਟਿਵ ਹਾਊਸ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਆ। ਆਪਣੇ ਨਾਲ ਕਾਂਗਰਸ ਦੇ ਡਿਸਟ੍ਰਿਕਟ ਤੋਂ, ਕੈਲੀਫੋਰਨੀਆ ਦੇ ਡਿਸਟ੍ਰਿਕਟ ਤੋਂ ਜੂਡੀ ਚੂ ਆਪਣੇ ਨਾਲ ਜੁੜੇ ਨੇ, ਕਾਂਗਰਸ ਵੂਮਨ। ਹੈਲੋ ਕਾਂਗਰਸ ਵੂਮਨ, ਹਾਊ ਆਰ ਯੂ?
Good.
So you attended the Interfaith Conference on 40 years of attack by the Indian Army on the Bar Sahib. You spoke very well. You told about persecution. You touched the part where a foreign government is trying to assassinate people in America, American citizens, and they already assassinated there. What do you want to say more about it?
I am shocked by this. It is not right for foreign governments to target U.S. citizens. And of course, we saw what happened in Canada. That was not right, and this is not right. And so we must make sure that Sikh Americans are safe, and we must call out this for what it is.
So I think they're talking about a bill in Congress against transnational repression. Where do you stand on it?
I definitely think that we should not have transnational repression, so I will take a look at that.
And what do you want? You were the founding members of the American Sikh Caucus. It's been more than a decade. What
Yeah.
do you want to say about the Sikh Caucus?
Well, I remember that I thought that there was such a need for Sikh American issues to come out, and also for the Sikh American community to be supported all across the nation. That's why I thought it was important to do this. So we started this, and I have a Republican co-chair, a co-founder, that was Congressmember David Valadao. And there was a lot of enthusiasm by the members of Congress, but there was also resistance.
What kind of resistance?
Well, I mean, the Indian government did not want this
really?
to be formed. They felt that Sikhs were a part of India and there should only be one caucus, the Indian caucus.
But as we know, America is a country where it's called a melting pot, where all the
Right.
culture, all the communities are diversified over here.
That's
and,
right.
And that's why you stood for Sikhs. Thank you for that.
Yeah, so that's the way I felt. I felt that there were unique situations with regard to Sikh Americans that needed to be addressed. So I'm glad that we stuck with it and that this has continued to thrive.
And what do you expect more of this caucus? Saying that right now there's a lot of talk about transnational repression, other things. What do you see this caucus doing more on it?
Well, I want to investigate it further. I want to see what the Department of Justice is doing about this. There is a lot that we can do to gather more information and then to take some actions around it.
Thank you, Judy Chu.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Very much. I think I am audible to everyone. Do let me know if I'm audible.
Yes, you are.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. वाहिगुरु जी का खालसा, वाहिगुरु जी की फतेह. Let me read one verse from Guru Granth Sahib Ji. तेरा पाना मीठा लागे, हर नाम पदारथ नानक मांगे. So this month, the month of June, has a very great significance when we talk about the Sikh Panth, because the Sikh Panth, the Sikh Jagat is celebrating the martyrdom day of Shaheed Guru Arjan Dev Ji Maharaj Shahidi. And this month has its own historic significance because we do call it the 6th June is the black day in the history of Sikhism, because that is the day when the Indian forces attacked on Akal Takht Sahib and not only destroyed the building of Akal Takht Sahib, rather they destroyed the sentiments of the entire Sikh Jagat. Either they are residing in Amritsar, in India, in Pakistan, or any corner of the world. So they have destroyed the sentiments of the Sikh community. And still, if you talk about today, the trauma of that Operation Blue Star is there, because that was the day when Indian forces attacked Akal Takht Sahib, and those who were there to pay their homage to Shri Akal Takht Sahib, to Harmandir Sahib, the innocent Sikh children, Sikh infants, and not only the Sikh, those who were the devotees, young women, old age people, likewise the youth, they were there to celebrate the martyrdom day of Guru Arjan Dev Ji Maharaj, and that was the day when the Indian forces attacked and destroyed everything. I really appreciate the American Sikh Caucus and the California Assembly because we are going to celebrate 40th, should I call it, it's not anniversary, but this is the Black Day. And with your support, we are here to talk about that genocide where hundreds of thousands innocent people were killed by the Indian forces, and we are still looking forward. We are waiting for the justice. We are waiting for the justice from the Supreme Court of India. We are waiting for the justice. Nation is still waiting for the justice from the Indian government. Although, because I'm a politician, I'm a member of the Punjab Assembly, and I am a minister as well, and I'm also heading the Pakistan Sikh Gurdwara Prabandhak Committee as a Mukh Sabadar, as a president. So every time we stand up, we strongly believe on peace. We strongly believe on coexistence. We strongly believe on social justice. But the other counterpart residing in India, they are, you can say, despite of the demand of the Sikh nation, they are unable to give us the justice. But still, we hope that the Indian Supreme Court, that the Indian government, one day will come when they will give justice to the Sikh nation. And I also request to the United Nations and to the human rights activists, to the human rights organizations that come forward and do support us to give justice to the Sikh nation. And I really appreciate Dr. Iqtidar Cheema. Every time he's there, who is voice of the Sikh nation, either in UK or US or Pakistan, wherever we talk about, Dr. Iqtidar Cheema is always there. So I strongly give my sincere appreciation to Dr. Pritpal Singh Ji, who always has a great voice, and he always try to bring Sikh nation on one platform. And as long as Pakistan is concerned, let me tell you the audience that in numbers, we are very few in Pakistan. The number is not more than 15 to 20,000 when we talk about the Sikh community, but the rights we enjoy here are tremendous, and we are considered here as a privileged minority. Let me tell you, today there was a budget session going on, and the Chief Minister of Punjab, on my demand, allocated 188% budget above than the last year. So this is how the minority is treated in Pakistan. The constitution of my country says that every citizen of the state is equal. That's why the minority living in Pakistan, they enjoy the rights, and opening of Kartarpur corridor is a great example, because I just heard that the California Assembly, the American Sikh Caucus, and some other organizations, they are struggling that there must be a free access to the Amritsar, but we have already opened it. The opening of Kartarpur corridor means that we are opening the worship places for everyone. Now the devotees from Indian side, they come on the daily basis to Kartarpur Sahib, they pay their homage, and we do have arrangement for more than 5,000 devotees. They can come, they can stay. And the other day I gave a suggestion, a recommendation to the Prime Minister of Pakistan that rather to open it dawn to dusk, we must open Kartarpur corridor for the devotees for 24 hours, so they can come early in the morning and they can spend the entire day, 24 hours, they can spend here, they can stay here, and they can do their worship, they can do their prayer, so they have ample time to stay here in Kartarpur Sahib. And because every Sikh prays 2 times in a day to visit Gurdwara Nankana Sahib and other Gurdwaras in Pakistan. So government of Pakistan has already opened the Kartarpur corridor. Last but not the least, let me tell you one more good thing. Like in 2018, the Punjab Assembly of Pakistan, they passed Sikh Marriage Act. And Dr. Cheema, we spoke so many times about this, about the rules of business. The Sikh Marriage Act must be implemented in letter spirit after passage by the Punjab Assembly. So Dr. Cheema and other audience, let me tell you with a great joy that the Cabinet of Punjab has passed the rules of business. So now we are going to implement the Sikh Marriage Act in next couple of months, and it's almost passed by the Cabinet. So by July, it will be on ground. So thank you very much for giving me a chance to speak with the audience and the dignitaries who are here. Thank you very much from my side.
Thank you.
ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਰੇਡੀਓ USA ਪੰਜਾਬੀ TV USA ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਸਵਾਗਤ ਹੈ। ਅੱਜ US ਕਾਂਗਰਸ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਖੜੇ ਆ ਜਿੱਥੇ ਕਿ ਇੰਟਰਫੇਥ ਕਾਨਫਰੰਸ ਗੈਦਰਿੰਗ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਉਹ ਹੋਈ ਆ ਦਰਬਾਰ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ 40 ਸਾਲ ਦੇ ਹਮਲੇ ਨੂੰ ਯਾਦ ਕਰਦੇ ਹੋਏ। ਇੱਥੇ ਆਪਣੇ ਨਾਲ ਕਾਂਗਰਸਮੈਨ ਪੈਟ ਮਹਿਨ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਆ ਉਹ ਆਪਣੇ ਨਾਲ ਜੁੜੇ ਆ। ਹੈਲੋ ਕਾਂਗਰਸਮੈਨ, ਹਾਊ ਆਰ ਯੂ?
Very well, thank you.
So you're here at the 40 years of attack on Darbar Sahib interfaith conference gathering. What do you see? What do you learn from it?
Well, it was a powerful moment to have members from so many different religions identify with the horrible events that happened 40 years ago, to share their own stories of religious oppression, and to call for peaceful resolutions of these differences and the right for people to practice their faith without being compromised.
So, as we know, a lot of it was centered around India as well. You must have heard about Transnational Repression bill, Indian agents being involved in killings of Sikh activists across the world, and even paying a ransom for a hit job over here. How do you see that?
Well, it's a very, very not only serious charge, but it has been confirmed by the indictment that was handed down by the United States Department of Justice. If you couple that with the activity in Canada, with the Premier calling out specifically the activity on the part of India, these are very, very serious charges, and part of the presence here today was not only to draw attention to that kind of oppression, but to recognize that there should be some level of accountability for those actions, and that clear message be sent that is just not tolerable. Look, India is a major player on the global stage. Mm-hmm. The United States is an ally of India. There's a lot of shared interests, but even among friends, where there are matters of seriousness like this,
it's basically American sovereignty.
Well,
citizen getting
it's these are assassinations. There's not anywhere where that is considered to be appropriate activity, but to be done threatened on American soil, to have actually been carried out on Canadian soil, is a violation of the sovereignty of those nations.
What are the talks in the halls of Congress about this?
Well, like anything in Congress, there's a recognition. A big part of the activity here is to grow an appreciation for the nature of this. If you are from the Sikh community, you're very aware of it. If you're a member of Congress, you may have heard about it, but you probably did not. It is something that needs to be brought to the attention of the members of Congress in the House and the Senate, and once educated on this issue, to appreciate the seriousness of it, and to gather together voices to call for not only recognition but some measure of accountability to ensure that nothing like this happens again.
How do you see American Sikh Caucus playing part on these conversations?
Well, they're a key part of helping to educate and to make communications. Young Sikhs traveled to numerous congressional offices yesterday, making relationships, establishing the connection, and using this story and this month of June, 40 years later, as an example that something 40 years ago, in terms of the violence that occurred, at the temple, continues in a certain way today if you have threats of assassination. So there's a history here that is important to communicate, to educate, so that advocates can call for accountability.
What do you want to tell to your fellow colleagues, fellow congressmen, congresswomen?
Listen and learn. And hopefully after you've listened and learned, you will partake in assuring that transnational repression finds no home anywhere.
Thank you. Thank you, Congressman.
Okay.
Thank you.
Take care. All right.
ਆਪਣੇ ਨਾਲ ਇਸ ਟਾਈਮ ਮਾਰਟਨ ਮਿਲਰ ਜੁੜੇ ਨੇ ਜੋ ਕਿ ਇੱਥੇ ਇੰਟਰਫੇਥ ਕਾਨਫਰੰਸ ਗੈਦਰਿੰਗ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਪਹੁੰਚੇ, ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਨੇ ਇੱਥੇ ਆਪਣੇ ਰਿਮਾਰਕਸ ਆਪਣੀ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਵੀ ਕੀਤੀ। ਵੈਲਕਮ। ਹੈਲੋ।
Hello, sir. Thank you.
So you spoke today on Interfaith Conference of 40 years of attack on Darbar Sahib. How do you see these kind of events helping the victims?
I think it gives an opportunity for people to come together and express their feelings that are deeply held, that they don't necessarily have the opportunity to talk about openly in society. And it gives an opportunity for people to come together and form coalitions, alliances with one another, and to support one another, and to think forward about how do we make these changes and thinking more positively about inclusion in our community.
So you do teach about religion and doing advocacy at the same time. How do you see these events help you in giving information to the future leaders?
That's a good question. I think it gives kind of a platform for people to, I guess it's for people to share their experiences, and then a space for leaders to take those voices forward and advocate for them and form alliances for them. I think this is like the Sikh caucus has been amazing. We're also working with colleagues from Burma, and the Burma caucus just started recently, and they could learn so much from what you all, like the Sikh caucus has been able to achieve by having these open conversations, inviting and speaking about really sensitive issues that aren't often heard about.
You must have heard about transnational repression, especially around India, how the government over there is killing Sikh activists and other activists over there. What do you want to say on that?
I think that's something that's coming to the forefront in a lot within the United States, and recognizing that transnational violence is happening. And I think at the moment, giving advice to the U.S. on how to address those issues is really vital. It's not been something that I think has been on the foreground of
What's your advice to U.S.?
What would be my advice? That's a hard one. I think thinking more broadly about how to address those specific points. I think right now the U.S. is very inward-looking, and it's not a standalone country, and it needs to think about how to support other individuals from other countries to be able to achieve, safety and security and protection. And I think that needs a very strong focus. It's happening, with India. It's happening with Burma context. It's happening with Yemen at the moment, and I think it's vital to pay attention to.
Thank you. Thank you for your talk.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ। ਅੱਜ ਯੂਐਸ ਹਾਊਸ ਆਫ ਰਿਪਰੈਜ਼ੈਂਟੇਟਿਵ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਜਿੱਥੇ ਅੱਜ ਦੇ ਦਿਨ ਦੀ ਸ਼ੁਰੂਆਤ ਸਿੱਖ ਅਰਦਾਸ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਹੋਈ ਆ। ਕਾਂਗਰਸਮੈਨ ਨਿਊ ਹਾਊਸ ਆਪਣੇ ਨਾਲ ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਨੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਭਾਈ ਮੋਹਨ ਸਿੰਘ ਆ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਆਂਦਾ, ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਨੇ ਅਰਦਾਸ ਕੀਤੀ। ਆਓ ਕਾਂਗਰਸਮੈਨ ਨਿਊ ਹਾਊਸ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ। ਕਾਂਗਰਸਮੈਨ ਨਿਊ ਹਾਊਸ, ਥੈਂਕ ਯੂ ਫॉर ਦਿਸ ਓਪਰਚੁਨਿਟੀ, ਥੈਂਕ ਯੂ ਫॉर what you did for the Sikh community today.
Well, I appreciate that very much. I did very little. I appreciate very much that you and your people being here, helping us in the United States of America understand that we are very similar, whether it's Sikh or Christian. We believe in many of the same things, and that we should be able to live in harmony.
Yes. So how do you come about this thing? How was you approached, and what did you know about Sikhs before?
So I have a couple of friends that are engaged with the Sikh community. Pat Meehan from Pennsylvania, Pete Sessions from Texas approached me about this idea because part of the rules of the House are that in order to provide the prayer in the opening sessions, the sponsor must be from the district where the individual is from. Just happens to be my district. So I'm from the Yakima Valley in the state of Washington. I jumped at the chance to be able to sponsor the minister today. And so it's a great opportunity, and I'm very appreciative of them being able to do this. I think this is quite historical. This has only happened
couple of times.
This is the second time, yeah, in the history of our country.
And all the Sikhs will know your name now.
Is that right? Well, I appreciate that. Well, I came to find out that we have quite a Sikh community in the Yakima area.
Yes.
So I'm looking forward to attending a worship service soon.
Good.
And looking forward to seeing what kind of food is prepared at the worship service.
That community service, community kitchen is always going to be there for you 24 hours, no matter where you go. as we know, this is the 40th anniversary of the attack on Darbar Sahib Akal Takht Sahib, the holiest shrine of the Sikhs. And at the same time, we are seeing in America transnational repression from the authoritarian government of India. How do you see this thing?
Well, I just think that that's a reflection of some of the difficult times we are in today, and we need, as a human race, we need to learn to be more accepting of others, whether they look like us, whether they think like us. We need to be more accepting of all people. And we can only learn from past experiences that we have to do better, we have to move forward. And what our minister today, his message to the United States Congress was very, very meaningful, and I think will go a long way toward that greater understanding.
Do you think you will see pushback from the Indian government by supporting Sikhs on this special anniversary day?
I'm looking forward to that, so that we can explain why this is such an important obstacle to overcome for all of us to be able to live together on this smaller and smaller planet we call Mother Earth. And so that greater understanding, I think every one of us need to take the opportunity to explain why it's so important for us to come together as brothers and sisters.
Thank you, Congressman. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it very much. Thank you.
And the congressmen who have been remarkably supportive in being able to accomplish today's prayer. I know that it is a remarkable honor in any circumstance to have an opportunity to have a representative of a faith, your faith, but to have our Sikh priest open today's session would be an honor in any circumstance, and it is particularly remarkable in the recognition that this June is the 40th anniversary of the massacre at the Golden Temple. We are here in Washington as peaceful American citizens from communities across the country, recognizing the significance of that date and just calling for recognition across the country, and particularly here in Congress, for the rights to have religious freedom and to live in peace and harmony with your neighbors while practicing that. And this is a chance to come to the foundation of, I would say, democracy and freedom that is the symbol around the world. To open it with a prayer, I think, is remarkably significant. So I just want to thank Reverend Cribben, our chaplain here at the House, for all of the work of her and her tremendous staff in helping to not only make this happen, but to help this happen important period of June. I'm going to ask her to take a minute or two and just say to welcome you as well. And then I want to also introduce and give Congressman Newhouse a moment just to address you as well, and to allow them both to move on to the rest of their responsibilities for the day. So when they're done their comments, please allow them they can choose to talk for a minute or two, but please allow them to move forward. So I will turn it over now to Reverend Cribben.
Well, a very good morning to all of you, and indeed welcome. And I hope that you have a sense of that welcome from not just to a wonderful spot in Washington, D.C., but a welcome of faith and the importance of faith here on the Hill. We have been opening the House in prayer since 1789. So for 235 years, every legislative day, maybe we missed a few in there during the Civil War, every legislative day has been opened in prayer. I have the privilege of serving as the chaplain of the House and to upholding this value, this importance of the freedom of religion in our country, and to have this opportunity to bring in guest chaplains who represent the faith traditions of our United States is integral to and a reminder to the importance of the freedom of religion. It's not lost on me that this is a very particular month, a very poignant month, a profound time for all of you, as we acknowledge not just by your presence here, but also we acknowledge that the freedom of religion isn't free, that there are costs to be paid. not only in terms of the Golden Temple, but I know for a fact that all of you live with a sense of uncertainty and awareness of the dangers that surround you. So thank you for standing firm in your faith, for representing certainly a faith that acknowledges the importance of humanity and the love that is so much a part of who we are as human beings. It's what makes us unique as human beings, is the ability to love. And I'm very grateful that I have been able to be a part of your community, if only briefly, to share that common value of respect and love and faith. God bless you all.
Once again, take a moment to thank Congressman Dan Newhouse from Washington State, who was drafted into this service. When we originally sought to have the opportunity to have the prayers stated, the priest was recommended, and we realized only later that it requires that the congressperson from the district be the person who nominates that priest for the honor and then has to sponsor that throughout. And so we recognized that our priest was from Yakima, and I called the office and said, would the congressman be willing to serve? And not only did he step up, the staff was terrific in working through each of the different matters, and we have a great friend in Congressman Newhouse who's been a great representative for his people, and we need to make sure that those who are in Washington State, both our Sikh friends, know and appreciate all the good work that he's doing for us. So let me just take a moment to turn it over. Dan, thank you for your help.
Thank you very much, Pat. Good morning, everyone. It's an honor for me to be a part of this. It truly is, and it was not a difficult question to answer at Pat's request to be the host of my new brother from Yakima, and to be a part of this. I truly think this is a significant day. It really is. I admittedly know very little about the Sikh religion. What our conversation earlier today has opened my eyes to a new world, and that the realization that we are all children of one God, and that together we can do tremendous things. And to have you here to help us understand the things that are important to you, we realize that they are the same things that are important to us. And so I want to thank you for helping open our eyes, and I think that will lead to a much greater understanding and acceptance for everyone. So this is a significant day. The importance of the 40th anniversary of the attack on the Golden Temple is rightfully so. We should observe this day. And I just can't tell you how much of an honor it is for me to be a part of this. So thank you very much, and I appreciate so much everything that you're trying to do for all of mankind. Thank you.
Thank you.
ਆਪਣੇ ਨਾਲ ਇਸ ਟਾਈਮ ਕਾਂਗਰਸਮੈਨ ਪੈਟ ਉਹ ਜੁੜੇ ਹੋਏ ਆ। ਕੱਲ੍ਹ ਵੀ ਆਪਾਂ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨਾਲ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਕੀਤੀ ਸੀ। ਅੱਜ ਸਪੈਸ਼ਲ ਅਰਦਾਸ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਹੋਈ ਹੈ ਸਿੱਖਾਂ ਦੀ, ਉਹਦੇ ਬਾਰੇ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ। ਕਾਂਗਰਸਮੈਨ ਪੈਟ, thank you for what you did today. Thank you for making this happen.
Well, it is an honor to be part of this, and a special honor to be included in a moment in which the Sikh community around the world is recognized with a prayer on the House floor. This is a tradition that's been going on for more than 200 years, the opening of every session with a prayer. It is a special honor for a priest of a religion to be selected to do the opening prayer, and this is only the second time in the history of the Congress that a Sikh has been asked to say the prayer. And of course, it's significant that it happens in June, the 40th anniversary of the massacre at the Golden Temple. And that was certainly part of the hope and expectation that this honor would be granted in June.
Thank you, and we'll look forward to next year.
Okay, thank you.
ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ। My name is Harjinder Singh. I am with the American Sikh Caucus Committee and Sikh Coordination Committee. Today we have come to U.S. Capitol to remember the 40th anniversary of the brutal attack on our holiest shrine, Darbar Sahib Golden Temple, in 1984, in June of 1984. This attack was given on orders of Indian Prime Minister Indira Gandhi, her intentions were to totally decimate the Sikhs, to demoralize them, to crush their spirits so they cannot rise again. And she picked a day particularly, intentionally, of the attack, which was the martyrdom day of our fifth Guru, Guru Arjan, who was the founder of Sikhism. She wanted to teach a lesson to the Sikhs by attacking the heart of Sikhism. But as you know, Sikhs have always sprung back from all these disasters in a big way. You know, this is known as Third Kalukara. The first Kalukara was in 1700s, and so was the second Kalukara. And at that time, our invaders of Golden Temple and Sikhism thought that they are going to finish the Sikhs. There were only a handful of Sikhs were left. And you know that after that, how Sikhism came, and Maharaja Ranjit Singh, who in 1799 established a Sikh kingdom, which was the present-day Punjab, Pakistan, Kashmir, going all the way up to Kabul, Kandahar. From this third Kalukara, or third Holocaust of Sikhs, Sikhs were mainly in Punjab and India. And after this attack, there was a decade of killing of Sikh youth, and Sikh youth has to run away to save their lives. And now, Sikhs are a global community. You know, all of you who were here, who came in the 80s, now Sikhs went to all the 5 continents. They are in Australia, they are in New Zealand, they are in European zone, they are in America, Canada, everywhere. There's a 5 million strong Sikh diaspora which is outside, which has kept the voice of Sikhs alive, who are fighting for sovereignty. You see the pictures behind me of Akal Takht, which was established by Guru Har Gobind as a seat of Sikh sovereignty. And when Indira Gandhi troops, the particular point of attack was Akal Takht, to kill the aspirations of Sikh sovereignty. You see this picture, how they brought in tanks with a mortar fire, they demolished the whole building. And right behind me, the picture of Golden Temple, Darbar Sahib, which was founded by Guru Arjan. And you see that all the smoke and the fires, and there were bullets fired in our holy scripture, Guru Granth Sahib, which you can even see when this is displayed every June of every year since '84. So what I'm saying is, the Sikhs have sprung back. Sikh will not be crushed. Sikh will and achieve sovereignty. Now, other thing which has changed is they used to suppress Sikhs in Punjab for decades. And now, when Modi became Prime Minister, they have exported those killings overseas, which we call Transnational Repression, in which they are targeting the Sikh independence leaders which are living in different countries. In January of 2023, India's National Investigative Agency, called NIA, issued a list of 21 Sikhs which were on their hit list. And it was all over in the media in India. And they started targeting those Sikhs. They are mainly in Sikh diaspora. And 5 or 6 of them has already been assassinated by the gangs which Indian intelligence hired to kill Sikhs. And this is the transnational repression against the Sikhs. Everybody knows about Hardeep Singh Nijjar, because that got a lot of air publicity because Prime Minister Trudeau spoke in the parliament that they have killed, Indian government agents have killed a Canadian citizen on Canadian soil, which is a no. But Indian government totally pushed back on that. Modi never said, show us the proof. And finally it came to United States because they threatened to kill a Sikh leader, Gurpratap Singh Pannu, who was a Sikh independence leader for Sikhs for Justice. And they had a plot and they hired killers, gave bounty money. And actually, the person they wanted to hire was the undercover agents for FBI. So their plot was exposed. There's an indictment in Southern District of Manhattan by U.S. Attorney. There's a 14-page indictment which lists all the details that how that killing was planned. And they also showed, which Canada did not have it or lacked or didn't have guts to show it, the proof when Nijjar was murdered. That was also done by Indian agents. Within 45 minutes of that murder, the video of that was transmitted to their bosses in India by the people who killed Nijjar. And that was intercepted by United States intelligence. So they showed that proof. That's all in the indictment. They're trying to extradite those people who are part of it. And it goes up to the level of the top leadership of RAW, which is the top Indian intelligence agency. And the RAW's leader at that time, who has since retired, the orders came directly from him. And there is total proof which will be shown when this case is, the indictment is put in the public. And everybody knows the chief of RAW is a direct report to Prime Minister of India. There's nothing in between. So Modi's hands are really dirty involved in this killing. And so I don't want to take too much time. What I'm saying is there is a lot of vendetta against Sikhs by Indian government. Indian leaders have openly talked about it. Sikh leadership has to be aware of it. But fortunately for us, now the whole world knows about it, and we have all the protection which we can get from all the democratic countries like United States, Canada, and other countries. So this fight will continue on. Now, coming back to the 40th anniversary of attack on Darbar Sahib Golden Temple, it's very important for us to remember, to recognize this state-sponsored terrorism which was done to Sikhs by Indian government. And to remember it is very important, and this is a historic place that we are asking for justice and accountability so that this kind of inhumane actions don't happen again in this world to any community, not only for Sikhs. With that, I will ask that I want to say a few words that we have some important guests who are coming in. Congressman Brendan Boyle is here, and I think, Pat, why don't you introduce him to...
Let me take a moment to introduce a great friend of the Sikh community. Brendan Boyle from Pennsylvania has been a staunch supporter of Sikhs, both at home in his community in Philadelphia and here in Washington, D.C. They are busy on the floor today, but he took a brief moment to come over and to say hello, and I'd like to introduce you and welcome our good friend, Congressman Brendan Boyle. Brendan?
Thank you. It shows you how important the Sikh community is. You need two mics, not just one. But I want to thank my good friend, my former colleague, Pat Meehan. He and I were always able to work so well together on a bipartisan basis, and we still do today. And I want to welcome you back and so many familiar faces. I know that this is a special and solemn month for the Sikh community, not just in my district in Philadelphia or in the Philadelphia area, but really all throughout the United States and all throughout the world. The Sikh community is an important part of what makes the United States special. We are a nation of immigrants. My father and all four of my grandparents were born elsewhere. I think many of us in this room, including Pat as well, share that special immigrant heritage, the prospect of coming to a new world and setting out to build new lives for your family. And that's what, in many ways, links us together. So it's always special for me to welcome such a proud community of Americans here to the United States Capitol. I've spoken out many times on behalf of your community, which unfortunately has come under recent attack in a most shameful way. I will continue speaking out because it is simply the right thing to do. So welcome. I know we have votes coming up in a couple minutes, and I think we've been joined by my Republican colleague. I will leave it to Pat to introduce him. He and I were together just last week in Normandy, celebrating the 80th anniversary of the beginning of the liberation of Europe and the defeat of the Nazi regime. It was very special, not to speak for Tom, but I'm sure he'll agree. It was very special for us to be there, especially with a number of D-Day veterans who themselves are about 100 years old. So with that, welcome back, and let me hand the microphones back to Pat.
Thank you, Congressman Boyle.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Congressman Boyle. It also is a great honor to introduce another very special friend. We were joined and have been joined now by Congressman Tom Emmer from Minnesota. But Tom is not only just a great congressman and very attentive to his district, but a real leader here in Washington. Tom is the majority whip. And if you think it is tough getting a group of Sikhs to all walk together in the same direction, Tom has to try to do so with all the members of his party in Congress, and there are challenges to be sure. But we owe a special debt of gratitude to Tom, not just because of his voice in speaking out on your behalf, but he has been especially helpful in giving us the support to enable us to use this room and helpful in assuring that we were given the chance to have the prayer this morning. So without further ado, let me introduce a great friend to the Sikh community, Congressman Tom Emmer.
Thank you, Pat. Thank you. I got to get good with the mics. First off, I'm just going to say, Pat Meehan is a very good friend, and you couldn't have a better ambassador when you come up to Washington, D.C. to reconnect with people on both sides of the aisle. So I want to thank Pat for that. I want to thank all of you for caring enough that you want to be part of this and you're taking time out of your lives to come up here. I know you're celebrating a very important 40th anniversary of the Golden Dome. I understand that is the celebration today, but I'm going to tell you, being part of the process in this country is what matters most. And when you show up, you stand up, you show up, and you speak up, people here listen. So the fact that you're here, thank you. Thank you, Pat, and everybody that does this. Go home, tell your family, tell your friends, tell your coworkers. They need to get involved. Freedom isn't free, and you know what? You own it, so keep earning it.
Thank you, Tom.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Congressman. Very, very grateful.
Good to see you, brother.
buddy.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Thanks.
You bet. See you guys.
Let me take a moment and recognize if he would like to just say hello for a minute. I think we want to make sure we give a special round of appreciation to a good friend of mine, Congressman Al Green from Texas, but a member of our caucus. Congressman Green has been a member of the American Congressional Sikh Caucus for a number of terms. But more importantly today, the congressman was kind enough to turn around and do something which is not very frequently done. I can guarantee you that. He got special permission and took a picture of you. Usually it's the other way around, but to have the picture taken of you in the chambers during the very special prayer on the 40th anniversary of the Golden attack on the Golden Temple. So, Congressman Green, thank you for being sensitive enough to take that picture. And if you just want to say hello to the group, I know that they would appreciate that.
Well, thank you very much. I am so honored to be with you today. And I must tell you, you look extremely stately. You look courtly, you look royal, and I could not resist taking the picture, to be very honest. And I'd like to thank my colleague for giving me just this moment. I regret that I have to rush away. I'm supposed to be across the street at another meeting, but I want you to know that in this country, you are more than welcome. We want you to feel at home. This country is a better country because you're here. America the Beautiful is a more beautiful America because of the tapestry that we have of various ethnicities, various communities, and yours is a part of that tapestry. So thank you so much, and I greatly appreciate you affording me this opportunity to say just a word. Thank you.
Thank you, Congressman. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, my friend. Great pleasure to welcome a long-term and very good friend of the Sikh community, not only in his constituency of New Jersey, but representing Sikhs all across the country. It is Congressman Norcross who gave the honor to the Sikh community of sponsoring the first prayer in the history of the House that was done by a Sikh priest. He has been a consistent and strong supporter and friend of the Sikhs in New Jersey throughout his entire career, and again was very supportive and helpful as we sought today to honor the 40th anniversary of the attack on the Golden Temple. So it is with great gratitude that I welcome Congressman Don Norcross from New Jersey. Thanks.
Pat and Harjinder, great to see you and everybody here today. It's good to be back. So it's a grateful day and it's a sad day. Grateful that this is the second time now that a prayer was offered. And that's remarkable given the history of our country. But the one value our country was founded on is freedom of religion, whatever it is. And certainly that was on display today. But we're here because of that attack on the Golden Temple, which we can never forget, because in many ways that set the tone for years after that to create more attacks around the world. And we need to remember that. Instead of fighting the difference between us, we should be celebrating it and talking about our beliefs, our values, and what we care about. And it's not just in the religious community, it's all across America. You know, it seems today that you're either on that side or that side, and there's no middle. Well, certainly what we should all easily be able to agree upon is no violence. And that's still an issue, and you know it better than anybody. So on behalf of the Grateful Nation, and Pat May, great to see you again, Harjinder and all of you, God bless you, and may God keep our country safe.
Thank you, Congressman.
Thank you.
Thank you, Congressman Norcross, for letting me interrupt for a brief moment. It is a great pleasure to welcome the co-chair of the Congressional Sikh Caucus, a great friend to Sikhs back in southeastern Pennsylvania and across the Delaware Valley, to be sure, and her representation of their important issues, but a real leader in Congress, chairing the conference and helping us with the recognition of not only the Sikh issues, but particularly on this important 40th anniversary of the Golden Temple. So it is with great pleasure that I introduce Congressman Mary Gay Scanlon from Pennsylvania. Congressman.
Thank you so much, and it is so wonderful, as always, to have our friends here in the Capitol. I think it's been a big week. I've seen a number of younger people here this week, ran into them in the cafeteria, but you're so important in our community, both entrepreneurially, your mission of peace in the world, and just all the things you do for our community. I know we've had a lot of contact over the last few years through all the disruption, and we know how important you were to helping many of those in our community survive the COVID pandemic, keeping our folks fed. So we're so grateful for everything you do, and very eager to continue pressing that support here on the Hill. So thank you for everything you do in our community, for keeping us apprised of the issues that are impacting folks across the country, across the world, and we look forward to continuing that work together. So thank you.
Thank you, really.
Thank you so much.
And to welcome and introduce a very special friend, not only of mine personally, but a friend of Sikhs in Texas and across the United States. He has been a voice of respect and deliberate delivery on the issues that are important to the Sikh community, particularly recognizing this being the 40th anniversary of the attack on the Golden Temple. And we are very appreciative. Today's special honor of the prayer on the House floor was initially led by Congressman Sessions. When we saw the rules that it needed to be from the district of the priest, he handed it off and helped recruit Congressman Newhouse to do that on our behalf, but the whole process began with Congressman Pete Sessions. I want to express my deep appreciation to him on taking the time. He's got only a couple minutes because he just walked off the floor after casting a vote and has to go back, but he took a minute to be with us here to recognize the 40th anniversary of the massacre at the Golden Temple. Thank you. Congressman Sessions?
Whoops. There's two of them here. Thank you.
There are two.
Congressman Meehan, thank you very much. To those who are watching, please know that the investment and opportunity that each of you are making by not only being here today, but also taking time to have the faith of confidence in your community and your leaders who are attempting to make sure that the transition, not only that you're making to the United States, but the contribution is well recognized, is not only recognized as important to the development of this nation, but also to each of those people who've come to this country where you now call home. Congressman Meehan and I have for a number of years felt the need and the obligation to make sure that we welcome those who have not only come to the United States, but to make sure that their contributions as new Americans is recognized, and that you are welcome within not just our country, but the ideas that roam. Your decision to come and to participate in Washington, D.C. at the highest levels of Article 1, which is the United States House of Representatives, is significant. And it's significant because Congressman Meehan and I believe that the story that's to be told is one of enrichment and opportunity, but also fairness. And we have understood for quite some time that the newest Americans, as you are, need an opportunity to tell your story also, of fairness and opportunity. So what a delight it is for me to be with you once again. And I hope that each of you find that today's presentation on the floor would be one of openness on behalf of not just the United States Congress, but your participation that would be acknowledged for what it is. Congressman, I want to thank you for allowing me to be here, asking me to be here, but perhaps more importantly, a chance for so many of the followers to be here today and let their face and words be known to the United States Congress.
Thank you, Congressman. Thank you again for your help and leadership. Thank you, my friend.
Good.